Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Welcome, fam, to the Giver Marketing Network Masterclass here with Corey. And we're going to be talking about farming in the marketing sense. We're going to have some fun with how to target your niche audience and how to have conversations with them and connect with them in a way that makes sense for the long term. So we're excited. Welcome to the network, also to Kingdom Warriors University, all those who are watching the replay, welcome. And so if you have questions during our live broadcast, please make comments in the chat box. And even now, make comments down below of where you're tuning in from. We want to know where you're tuning in from so that Corey knows who's listening and what's going on. And so we can connect with you and make sure and answer any questions you have during the broadcast. Okay. So Corey, thank you so much. It's Corey Nery-Guity, correct? Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's me. You did it, man. Well done.
I affectionately think of Corey as Corey Nery-G. He's Corey Nery-G. So the letter G is what you want to remember. And we're here to be able to learn from you today and understand you're the brand champion of Champion Circle Enterprise. So Can you tell us a little bit more about maybe how you got to do what you're doing, kind of your story, and then we can jump into some visual goodies, man, and have some conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. How y'all doing, everyone that's listening, tuning in now and later? Thank you for tapping in with us. We love that, your attention. So just quick backstory. So I earned the nickname Brand Champion of my company by leading people forward and helping them harness the power of confidence through branding. So it is of our belief that branding is the highest form of confidence, and it's a catalyst for anyone to achieve in life and business, regardless of their profession. So come to the backstory. A couple years ago, I was working 2 jobs and I was depressed, lowly, felt like the underdog, don't have the academic credentials, to get those good careers, quote unquote. So as I sat there as a cashier, just worrying and wondering, I'm capable of so much more, committed to personal development, but I'm not finding any opportunities to advance. Fortunately, I had a great support system at home, and that helped me stay hopeful. Eventually wound up attracting the attention of some mentors who really changed my life for the better. What they did was expose me to the life I only existed in my head. Just to paint a picture real fast, outside of my window was like pavement, concrete, helicopters. I go outside, people I went to school with are going to jail, or things happening to them. And then I'm with these guys and I'm traveling to different states, being surrounded by philanthropists and very wealthy individuals who connect on the same mindset. So taking all of that energy post that experience with those gentlemen, I just wanted to teach everyone how to become a champion in their own life as well. So as I grow, learn, and build in faith, then I only want to teach everybody else how to do it as well. And that's how I earned the name of Brand Champion.
I love it. And as someone who just has a passion for causes and companies doing good in the world, just being a part of this network, it's been such a breath of fresh air to have you kind of bring a different perspective on branding and some of these conversations around marketing. So with that, Corey, I'm going to hand it over, man. Like, bring
Oh
us
man,
your
all right.
visuals. I'll ask you questions along the way. We'll have a group discussion toward the end here, and we'll have some fun with this. But bring it up, man. What do you got? What do you got
All
today?
right, let's do it. There we go. Boom. So today we are talking about, again, finding your niche is considered as market mobility, how to change segments with your audience as it grows, as your brand goes, as your business scales. And then, of course, the fundamentals of niching so we can understand like how to specify in groups who are the buyers for our customers, as well as building those relationships over time, creating that retention and longevity, through the experience that we provide through our service and content. So that is what the preface of this entire presentation is about. And I really enjoy visuals. Again, going back to confidence, leveraging my skills as a writer, as a presenter, as a aspiring speaker, taking all that, and you're seeing it here today. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's the table of content. So we're talking about niching, champion niche concepts, and I'll tell you how I came up with those ideas, the pillars of mobility, the farmer's approach, literal like farming food and planting and things like that, and how that applies to business. And then we'll close with some Q&A, and I'll share my contact information. So real high level overview, there are several different points to consider. Tim, I'm calling out to you real quick. If I'm going too fast in terms of pacing, please let me know, because once I get excited, man, I just keep going and going. I truly love what I do. All right, so the basics of niching, you have demographic, which of course focuses on age, gender, and income. So if you're a company who targets children, your content is probably not going to be themed and based to attract a 60-year-old person. Okay, you want to make sure that your colors and your interest and your content matches the energy and language of the audience you intend to serve, and that they can actually afford the products or services you're willing to offer based on the value and demand in the market
Corey,
today.
I want to mention something here, but real
Yes,
quick,
sir.
this slide is gold. Okay,
Yeah.
if you're one of those business owners like I was at one point, where you're like,
Mhm.
I just want to serve everybody. I just
Right.
love everybody, because I was from a background where I just wanted to encourage everybody.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine to start with for a week or two, but at some
Right.
point you got to get it down to like who you're called to. Who is your who, as Pedro Adayo would say. And so what Corey's talking about here is giving you a guide on how to niche this down
Yeah.
to who you're called to serve in the most potent and powerful way. So pay really close attention to this.
Yes.
Well done.
So yeah, so as you mentioned, niching is I would say that's like the level two of targeting. So what we're focusing on with demographics, just kind of helping us go from, like you said, everybody to okay, let's specify on specific persons or groups, areas that we want to grow our business and our reputation within, right? How to who we want to become known for in the space that we intend to serve in, right? So in general, and then you go from demographics, from age to again locality. Maybe your goal is not to create a global enterprise. Maybe you just want to be really profitable and have healthy impact in your community, state, or region. That is goes into demographics as well. And you also would consider the type of resources that are available, like a SBDC or a score, that are accessible to you to support the growth of your business, alongside the capital and things that you generate through sales. And then, of course, you have your psychographics, which is going to be next, and that goes to specific lifestyle and personality types. So again, we're talking about buyer personas. This is really popular, especially when it comes to your luxury style brands. You're looking at those high end vehicles. They're tapping into your sense of style, prestige. If it's more of a casual brand, they're tapping into your lifestyle of freedom, flexibility, personality, creativity. These type of psychological cues and personality cues that we want to use to relate to our target audience is what we're going to your psychographics. And then, of course, we have a product which is a tangible item, that is exchanged for value, which is monetary, or it can be of service exchange. There's many different ways that exchange can go, but typically a product is an item or service that focus on a specific problem. Now, in order to, while we're getting closer and understanding who our ideal target, our ideal audience are, or going to our general audience, or in the middle of finding who our buyers are, all the while we need to be collecting data from our audience. So that includes market research, that includes surveys, that includes reading reports and understanding, who, what, where the big players are, and emulating some of the services to understand where you can provide the most value and stand apart for them. So that way your product or service, right, can stand out and become a staple in the industry. The last thing we want as entrepreneurs, even as individuals, down to our confidence, is feeling like we're being ignored. So the more energy and intention we put into developing a great offer through packaging and services, then the more viable and potential we have to succeed and penetrate the market. Okay. And then lastly, we have industry, which focuses on a specific sector or industry, of course. So this is more based on, I would think, like your expertise or your interest. For example, if you're into like technology for automobiles, then maybe the auto industry is the place where you focus in. If you're very hands-on and you have some engineering experience, maybe the engineering and STEM industry might be the place of focus where you can start to claim your stake and become known in those spaces. So I like to think of it as like whatever your interest or your mastery is, if there's a place in the market or industry where those things are in high demand, that would be a good place to start. If you're already dominating in those industries and areas, in order to scale, you want to be able to adapt and become more innovative in your approach so that way you can take on more clients and keep up with the times as technology advances. Okay. So in terms of your point of scale and how to grow your business to the next level. Go
Corey,
ahead,
tell
Paul.
us a little bit about who you like to work with from
Okay.
using this as a guide. Just give us a
Okay.
kind of a general idea of like who your audience generally is, who you like to
Mm-hmm.
connect with. Be
Mm-hmm.
be super transparent, be real with it. Like just let us
Gotcha.
know like if there's, several thousand people watching and maybe 5 or 10 of them are like just really
Mm-hmm.
who you want to work with. Who would that be?
Gotcha. I'll talk more about that in the next slide when we're talking about the three niching concepts. But in general, as I've gone through this process, right, I was able to focus in on organizations that specialize in entrepreneurial advancement. So that could be an NPO, it could be a coach or consultant, it can be an educational institution where their goal is to help others advance through entrepreneurship. My personal intent as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is to work with entrepreneurs and help them develop micro companies. Now, a micro company is a business that is small, up to 10 team members. They don't necessarily have to be employees, just a small team, and they leverage high value contracts and acquisitions for autonomy and profit. Because I
Come on.
understand that
See, that's
the
great language, man.
yeah.
Listen closely to how he answered that question, ladies and gentlemen. That was an on the spot. We didn't prepare for any of that. It's right from his work as in
Yeah.
research. And you wanted to talk about niche. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So, focusing on the data, right, that we mentioned earlier, as we're piecing these things together. Okay, who is our audience? Where are they? What are they like? What's their personality? How do we, as brands, develop content? Which colors do we choose? Logo, signature, all of these elements, visuals, and the experience, customer service, you name it. It's all a part of the experiential part of the sales cycle, from content to post transactional communication. All of that relates to the brand experience. It's the relational elements. And marketing is more about the data analytic and channels in which we get our information to the right people, and why that research and all that data is important to collect over time. So as we're getting closer to identifying our ideal and target audiences, then we can start to figure out, okay, what is our pocket in which we can thrive in? And that's where the niche concepts come into play. Any questions real quick, Mr. Tim, before I hop in there? All right, excellent. Just making sure we're on the same page. Like I said, once I get into it. All right, so these three concepts is something that I've come to understand over time, just evaluating and analyzing my experience and conversations I've had with other professionals. All right, so skill-based niching is a model of service in which your value is based on the demand and proficiency of your mastery. So this is where your executive employees can become consultants for other businesses based on the results they created in that career space. So that could be like a transition from expertise and knowledge to consulting and coaching. It's a similar thing if you're a mechanic, right? You're leveraging your skills to work on vehicles. Now, if you specify and specialize in a specific type of car, like Toyota models or Tesla models, for example, then whenever you go to a dealership in any state that focuses on or utilizes those cars, then you have a higher chance in that industry, in that space, to find an opportunity to build on your skill set, right? Leveraging your skills, again, based on mastery and the demand that it is in the market. The next type is going to be organizational type of niching. And this is sort of when you're getting to that B2B space. So if it's a targeting model that focuses on the value you add to specific communities or associations. We mentioned earlier about NPOs. Question? I seen you come on mute.
Nonprofit organizations,
Yeah,
NPOs. Here we go.
NPOs, nonprofit organizations. Yes, sir. So if you're a very community centric business and a big part of your brand is social responsibility or education or economic advancement, then you would want to serve and assist other communities probably as a contractor if you're a business that works, if you're an independent person that works as well, so that way you can help those communities and organizations elevate their experience and their audience and their reach in the market. Okay, so for me, when it comes to working with institutions that focus on entrepreneurial advancement, that is a very specific type of organization, right? That I love to work with. Very specific type of organization that I love to work with. And then you have your solutionist niche, which is when you're hyper focused on a very specific problem and you want to become the best at it. Think of it as, let's say, I don't know, use an example here. Let's say you're a brain surgeon, right? Just out of the blue, you're a brain surgeon. Your your mastery of this skill, okay, is very proficient, high level in order for people to trust you. So you have a little bit of skill rare, which is hybrid, but you focus specifically on the brain. So a lot of your time and your additional studying is most likely going to be related to how to how to fix the brain in some way, right? Different surgical techniques, different tools that you might use, just acquiring the best equipment for that experience to increase or optimize the success ratio for that service. Go ahead.
Corey, let's talk about this for a second before you
Yes, sir.
hit the other slides, because I know you got some goodies around farming and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of that concept that's just so brilliant. Um, but let's think about this.
Mm-hmm.
20, 30, 40 years ago, before you were born,
Right.
um, I look, I was just kind of kicking on the scene, kind of getting my mojo, getting everything rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the world where there was no internet.
Mm.
How does that play into this conversation? Because the world is so much
Yeah.
faster and so much more specialized
Mm.
than it was back in the day. You had to find somebody in your hometown that could do what you need to do to solve your problem. That was pretty
Yeah.
much it. You were
Yeah.
you were you were limited to the 500 people that were within your friends and family network. That was it.
Mm. Mm.
Now, if you don't niche, if you don't target this down and start niching, you're basically playing a small town game in a big town world.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that and how important the actual process of niching down is?
Yes, absolutely. So let's say I like to use this analogy all the time. I actually did a a presentation on desserts to specifically articulate this challenge. So let's say that we all in the sugar industry, right? So our ability to retain and attract customers based on how much attention we pay into their interest and how we specifically answer their question. So example, we're all in the sugar industry. I might sell cupcakes, you might sell cookies, someone else might sell pastries. Now, if the customers that come in, everyone wants sugar to some degree, but if they say a specific customer comes in and they want a vegan style cookie, right? Or let's say they're only looking for chocolate chip cookies, but you offer a bunch of different options. So the person who focuses on chocolate chip cookies, yes, it is the potential that they might not attract everybody, right? Which isn't necessarily the goal, but they will attract the customers that are right for their business.
Come on, and therefore, because you're
Correct.
a specialist, you can
Hmm.
charge a premium
There you
and
go.
hyper focus on your solution for your particular
Yes.
audience in your particular way, in your particular region, your particular industry, in your
Right.
particular personality, and even leverage the psychographics you talked about earlier to make
Yeah.
sure people feel special when they buy your thing.
Right.
And I love that you brought this down because there's so many team members, so many clients, so many business owners, nonprofit leaders out there like, we just want to help everybody like we did 20, 30, 40 years ago. And it's
Right.
like, ladies and gentlemen, that is not how the world works. I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to be a generalist, you can. You might be able to squeak by a living or squeak by your donations or squeak by your thing. But if you want to make a little bit more of an impact, you
Right.
the more you niche, the more impact you make. And
Right. Right.
it sounds counterintuitive and it feels counterintuitive at first because you don't want to turn
Hmm.
anybody down, but it's better to refer that person over to a specialist, ask that other specialist to refer people back to you. You'll end up with twice as much work and twice as
Yes.
much profit margin. And so
Yes.
at the end of the day, everybody gets blessed, everybody wins. I just want to That's one of my soapboxes, Corey. You brought it up. It's your fault. It's absolutely your fault. But let's rip through the farming concept here in the next few
Okay.
slides. I'm excited.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So real quick, for as far as mobility is from target general to target to buyer to ideal. So as we talked about, you got to have the data, understand how to analyze it, and use it to fine tune your marketing, which is positioning your content in front of the right people, and then the experience, which is creating a memorable sales opportunity and experience for your customers through the offer and speaking to their benefits, etc. Then you need visibility. So obviously you need a place for people to find you. If it's a brick and mortar, if it's a website, if it's social media, where can they engage with your content, learn from you so that way they can move through the buying decision making process. And then lastly, we need the connection, which is where the brand really comes into play and where we're able to create content. Think of it like a commercial where we looking at things in those commercials, they have people and experiences that we resonate with. They tap into our senses of happiness, peace, transformation. We imagine what it's like to have that tool in our hands. I like to use Nike as an example. Can you imagine what their commercials would look like if they had no athletes, if they had no music, you know what I mean? No visuals, and it was just a check in a shoe? There would be less connection points that humanize the experience of imagining what it's like to wear those shoes. So we'll move forward. And now we're into the concept of farming. All right, so farming in general is like you have your tilling of the soil, which is kind of prepping the land. Okay, so in our example, it's the internal work of your business, understanding the processes, acquiring the right tools to streamline your operation and optimize the experience as best as possible for your customers. In layman's terms, your goal when you're tilling the soil is to identify the folks, create an offer, make a connection, and create a simple process where they can exchange, where they can buy what you sell. And as you're out there networking, you're kind of watering those seeds and kind of assessing who your partners are If you have customers in your pipeline, then you're giving them an email campaign. Maybe you're calling them or sending them postcards, giftology. You're kind of just making sure that you're giving these seeds, these people, these potential partners, the nutrients they need in order to become long-term customers for your business and supporting raving fans of your brand. Okay. And that is big as well when it comes to experiential marketing campaigns, which is something that I also specialize in. It's all about inviting the customers and our partners in to create a community experience where the raving fans sell to the newer customers. You get an intimate a personal connection with new and existing customers to experience your brand in a new way. And all of that content, media, and exposure that is captured in those events and or experiences can be utilized to promote your brand as growth and community impact, as well as to represent company culture for recruitment and things like that for your company to attract team members. So it's multiple folds, like the multiverse there. But experiential marketing campaigns is a great way to do multiple things at one time and just leverage the influence of your brand. And lastly, of course, you have harvesting the crops. And this is when you're at the point of your business when you might be acquiring other companies. You may be prepping to sell. You may be, you're in the team that you manage. You may be upping their responsibility, giving them promotions and things of that nature. It's all about really maintaining those relationships and really making sure your offerings and experiences aligned with the values and the intent and direction you have for your business. The last thing that we want as captains of our ships and our staffmen and staff women want for our company is to do one of these, okay? The vision is going this way, the mission is going this way. Somewhere along the lines, we did one of those. Everyone's confused, and that creates conflict and friction within your organization. You'll wind up confusing your audience, which then could ruin your reputation in the market. So everything has a strategy. Everything has to be very intentional, and everything has to be, for the lack of better terms, as best that they can be to your capacity. So,
Corey,
yeah.
I got a question about
What's up, brother?
farming versus hunting.
Okay.
So many different personality types out there. Some are more short-term thinkers, in that they're in maybe like a startup mode or like kind of like a financial crisis mode. Like they're just trying to get things rolling. Okay,
Yeah.
we've all been there, and there's nothing wrong with that. You got to do what you
Right.
got to do. If you're hungry, go hunting. You know what I mean? Like it just
Mm-hmm.
is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. It's kind of a salesman's mindset. Maybe that meets marketing at some level. Sales and marketing work together. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but what you're talking about here is really more that long game where you're
Yeah.
not burning a bunch of bridges so that you can make a sale or two. You're
Mm-hmm.
really treating the audience with respect. Can you speak to that a little bit more? And again, not to downplay that when
Yeah.
you need to go hunting, you go hunting. Okay, I get it,
Yeah.
but can you speak to kind of the different mindset or the psychographics almost
Mm.
of that person who's actually implementing this farmer's approach?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing in farming and a pivotal um, construct of life is patience, right? Patience. That is, if you plant a seed, it's kind of hard to rush it to grow. You know what I'm saying? So, by understanding the connection points on how to keep in touch with our audience, even if a hunter, technically, I would, in my opinion, right, I would even say a fisher person. A fisherman is also a style of hunter, but the hunting aspects is finding the bait, right, going directly to the fish, putting the product in front of the audience, which is in this case is the fish that are in the water,
Hmm.
and reeling them in, right? You're hunting, but that process is a little
So
slower.
I would say that fishing
Hmm.
might be kind of a hybrid
Yeah, okay,
because
fair.
you got like this immediate catch that can happen, but then you got this long game where you're trying to figure out
Hmm.
what's going on in the water and all these different things.
Right.
I love your farmer's approach because it gets us into a long-term mentality And still, when we need to go hunting or fishing, like, let's just go do it, right?
Right.
But farming implies that that seed needs to germinate, that relationship needs to build, that trust needs to develop. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget listening to Les Brown talk about these
Mm.
kind of things. And look up Les Brown, Les Brown, and the bamboo tree, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm.
And
Yes, that's a
this
good
will
one.
dovetail right into what Corey's talking about. It'll be a good compliment. He has so many. There's another one called Hungry. Uh,
Yeah.
you
That man
gotta
got a
listen.
few. He got
You
a few
gotta
of them.
listen to Les Brown, ladies and gentlemen. We were just talking to somebody recently about being on a conference with him. But
Nice.
bottom line is this: what Corey's talking about here takes a little bit of time, but you're not burning bridges or spamming people or making forcing something on somebody too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You're letting the process develop. If you're confident in what you do, you will farm.
Mm.
If you're not sure or you're just kind of randomly trying to survive and it's just you're not 100% yet on what you're doing, then you're going to be more of a hunter just to see if you can go kill something. Now
Mm.
listen, there's times for both,
Right.
but what Corey's talking about here is deep level genius. This is what we need to do in our businesses, especially with the branding foundation that he set this up with. And so,
Mm.
with that, Corey, do you have any other nuggets you're going to drop before we get into conversation today?
Man, there's plenty of nuggets I can drop, but if I had to deduce it down to just one, it would be put more intention into the customer experience than the transaction. That would be my nugget. Put
Okay,
more
good.
energy.
Any other slides or ways to contact you or anything like that that you can bring up visually?
Other visually, well,
Oh, Christine
we
has that. I'm sorry.
we did the Q&A already, recap and
Okay,
everything like that. And this would be like my QR code for my direct contact list. If you want to get in touch with me, they can scan it and save my contact, and I'll be able to follow up with them.
great. Let's leave
Other,
that up for just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Get your phones out. Take a picture of that.
yeah, yeah.
That's that's
All
how
of
it
my
works.
socials are on there as well.
Your phone will read that. All your smartphones will read that automatically. So don't worry about all the technology around it. Just take a picture of that
Mhm.
and it'll get you where you need to go. Also, Christine's going to scroll something along the bottom of the screen for
Sounds good.
those who don't have their phones handy for some reason. They can go ping you, go hit you up on LinkedIn,
Yes.
and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You want to connect with Corey because he's classy, man. He's classy marketing professional. He's someone that's not going to force you into some weird conversation, push you into buying something you don't need. He wants to make sure you got what you need from a branding and kind of this long-term mentality around marketing. And we define marketing as pre-sales communication or pre-decision communication or
Yeah.
pre-funding communication, if you want to think of it that way, as an investor or a nonprofit organization. But the bottom line is marketing is dating and sales is proposing. And
Mm.
what Corey is talking about here is the classy way to date your prospects. It's the way to do it so that you don't push the right people aside while you're going after some random person that you're hoping will give you, a little bit more cash. A short-term revenue is not worth your long-term brand. It's just not
Right.
worth it. So, hey, with that being said, connect with Corey. He can help you stay classy, San Diego. Uh, I'm just joking, but let's jump into some group conversation. We got Christine, Dean, we got Joel Snyder,
Let's do
myself
it.
as well. We'll be here to kind of put you on the love seat, man.
All
We're gonna
right.
give you some questions and ask you a little bit more about what you're talking about. There might be a few in the chat box, excuse me,
Okay.
in the comments as well, and also in our chat box too. But if anybody has any questions, now's the time to put them in the comments. It'll also give you a little extra love for those who are watching the stream as well, if you're able to do that. So, Christine, is there anything that kind of jumped out to you that we can circle around and talk to Corey about today?
Well, I think there's a lot of interest in the whole idea of niching down. We
Okay.
seem to get some comments about that. So I'm thinking if we had anything to elaborate on that, is that still a specialty? How does this niching thing work? And so, Corey, if you have any more nuggets of wisdom that you want to talk about.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's definitely a work in progress as we're if we're newer to the experience of business development, then we are the farmers and we have to go out and collect that data, right? We got to go find the seeds at the store. We got to go learn what type of water, how to nurture, what type of protection materials we need to cultivate this plant in a healthy way. So that speaking to that point, it really depends on the market and where the demand is. Okay. It's one thing to have an idea it's one thing to think an idea is viable. It's another thing to proof it in the market. Right. So those
Ooh, that's
adjustments
a nugget.
those adjustments as well is all a part of the experience of becoming the specialist. If you're a nail tech and you want to focus on hands and toes, then another question comes in: do you want to focus on adults, teenagers, children? Okay, another question comes in: what type of occasions do you want to prepare for? Are you going to specialize in a specific style of painting those nails? What type of tools are you going to use? Are you going to create some type of partnerships with similar businesses or products to get you further into the industry of beauty? Or what is to what degree do you want to become the specialist in this particular vein? Okay.
Corey, I
All
love
of
that you bring
these,
examples that are
yeah.
so easy to understand and so like applicable to all of our
Yeah,
businesses, whether we're brick and mortar or online. Just that process you just took us through, and
yeah,
you talked about demand. I want to circle back to that in a minute.
for
That's a
sure.
huge point.
Yeah.
Joel, what do you have for Corey as far as questions or comments to spark the conversation?
No, I think this is great information, and I'm really relating hard right now because I'm putting in a backyard. So we moved
I
into a
love
property
that.
with dirt, right? Not even any irrigation. It's like, okay, where do I start, right? Do I
Right.
start filling the ground, or do I start with putting in a sprinkler system? I mean, where do you go from here to find it? And would love to hear your views of, as you're consulting with clients that are
Mm.
working in developing their niche. Do you talk about investment of time and money to get that data that you need to make those developmental decisions?
Absolutely, absolutely. So on the micro business level, whom would have a person or personnel to handle that portion of development, which is research, right? To either invest money into the reports from trusted agencies or corporations. I think it's like ISBS or something like that. I'm totally might be butchering it, but it's one of those. It's one of those reporting agencies that's up there. Or you go out there and you do the work yourself. And again, it's helpful to have a team or a person or an automation system in place to go ahead and cultivate those seeds and get that information for sure. I absolutely agree with that.
Have you looked at advising people on how to grow their existing client base through their
Yeah,
niche?
in terms of existing client base and growing it, are you talking about repeat business or you're saying
Yeah,
attracting more of
working
that specific
working
type?
one account and bringing one account up.
It's a part of the conversation, but that depends on their affinity with their audience, right? And creating that connection point. I would say like a brand. Let's say I use the term a brand interview, right? So if we want to serve our specific segment better, then we need to understand first how are they currently experiencing our business, and in those conversations, we want to know, okay, based on your interest and what other problems you have, that could be an opportunity to create a new product to serve this same audience in a greater way. So if you need, for example, if you sell hammers, but you know that people who buy your hammers love to build, maybe depending on the accessibility and the resources you can get your hands on, you can also provide them with a nails, right? So now you're able to supply their need in a deeper capacity. So that increases their affinity towards your brand, and they're already a happy customer. That's only going to turn them into a raving fan for your business.
Let's talk about supply and demand. Let's talk about the demand side of this equation as you're niching down. And then what you just alluded to because of Joel's question about kind of once you've niched down and you've got some level of success, then you kind of have the right or the authority or the permission from the audience to start broadening just a little bit more, maybe offer a couple more not off menu items, but kind of sub menu items, if you will, right? So that's an interesting comment you just made. And as we wrap up our conversation, I'd like to dig deeper into demand. So, Corey, when we're niching down, I'm thinking of a couple of particular team members right now and a couple of clients as well. When they're niching down, sometimes they can overdo it. They can go, hey, I only want to work with people that are left-handed, who play, play this sport, who have this, particular faith, who does it in this particular way, and they're night owls, so they don't sleep, they don't sleep at normal times, and like they get all really nerdy about and it's like, what is the data actually saying? Like, is there a demand for what you're actually trying to do? And some people say, well, just because I got a good idea, it should work out, right? That's what all the marketing people tell me. If I got a good idea, I'm halfway there. And the point and the question I would have for you is if there's people out there that get ideas all the time, how do they stay focused on what actually can produce an impact and revenue when they're ideators, when they have all these things coming in? We should change our business and do this and do that.
Right.
How do we help people stay focused in this process? And I'm mostly curious about your concept of the market research around demand, that particular aspect. Can you speak to that just a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a season now of transition, right? Because that is also a work in progress. Even large companies who already we would consider them as successful and they have almost like a permanent stake in the market, they're still making tweaks and adjustments to their offer to ensure that they're delivering the most value based on what their customers want and how new customers entering the market, Gen Z, etc., and what their interest, right? That longevity strategic planning comes into play. But specifically to the demand, I would want to bring the attention to first the size of the market, right? I understand, like, going with that same example, the person who stays up overnight only uses their left hand and loves to drink coffee, right? Let's just use that as an example, which is sort of extreme. So how accessible are those people, right? Like, my question would be, how quickly can you get in front of those individuals, right? How accessible is that market for you? If there is, the smaller the market, typically the harder it is to collect that data and understand what the actual value is for those individuals.
So if I'm hearing you right, Corey, it's your decision should be based on data, not on just instinct. Like, you can have both, but without the data, you're basically just throwing ideas at the wall and hoping that you become this specialist in some area. And I'm not going against anything we said today. I'm just saying, like, there's some people out there that they're freaking out because they've been generalists their whole life, and then we're asking them to consider niching down so they can make more profit, more impact, more revenue with that particular audience. And with our modern tools, we can reach that audience. But if you don't know how to do that, talk to Corey. If you don't know how to find the research, or find out if that's even a good idea for the demand that's in place right now, talk to
Right.
Corey. Or go do some research. Go figure it out. Figure it out and see if that's
Absolutely.
even a thing. Let's make
Yeah.
sure that just because you got a good idea doesn't mean doesn't mean you have to
Yeah.
launch it in such a weird way.
Yeah.
So let's make sure there's a demand there. Okay.
I'm
Corey?
also big on creating the MVP, right? Because if there is a demand and your idea actually makes sense because it's based on the research you've done, you looked at the big players in the field, you're looking at the competitors, and you're kind of shaping your products and offers around what they're selling, and that kind of gives you that proof of concept for you as an individual to really see, like, okay, is this viable though? Is the way that they executed the same way that I should be executing? And understanding how your deliverable process works is like another piece of the puzzle. Is this something within your capacity to execute? Because we can have these big ideas, but how much of it can we execute right now? So I'm big on creating MVPs, do a beta test, whether it's closed or
Minimum
open.
viable products, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
sorry, yeah, minimum viable
viable
product.
products.
So it's like a sample in a way, or a
Yeah.
prototype.
Yeah.
Get out there, get some real-time feedback on what it is you want to grow on a larger scale, and really see,
Test it out.
test
Test it
that
out.
thing
See
out,
what
man.
happens.
Worst
All
thing you
right. So a
can do
little
is
beta.
invest in $100,000 into something that the market don't want.
Yeah, beta test it. Give it a shot. Try
Yeah.
it with your friends, family, neighbors, and associates for a while and see if you can get some revenue and some interest generating.
Yep.
I love this conversation, Corey. You're
Right.
bringing a kind of the nerdy side to the emotional side of branding, and I like what's happening here. Christine, did you
I
have
love the nerdy side of this, Corey. You got me thinking we probably need somebody to come in and talk just about what does it mean about market research? How do you do that? What is it? How does that
Yeah.
work? Right? Because I think a lot of people go, oh, I have an idea. And then they just jump right into it.
Yeah.
And Corey, you did a great job pointing out, is it viable? Is it something you can actually do? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the pool noodle is very successful, right? They made a ton of money off the pool noodle. Who'd have thought we never needed something like that, right? So the strange things can be successful, right? But you got to look at what's going on in your area. Is there really a need for this? I know of an event center in an area that doesn't have a very big population. And why are they having events? There isn't even a big airport nearby, right? So sometimes we go, oh, that's a great idea. But if you don't do that market research, ooh, is that costly in the end, right?
Yeah.
So I love this. This is a great topic, Corey. Thank you.
Definitely would encourage if available in your locality or online, connect with a mentor or a coach through the Small Business Development Center or Small Business Administration or your seed, entrepreneurial style educational community. They often offer resources and support to assist with finding this data. In lieu of going to the research and talking to the librarian. They might be able to give you direct tools online. That way you can.
Corey, if someone were to reach out to you,
Thanks a lot.
if someone were to reach out to you directly, could you point them in the right direction, or at least get them started on some of those kind of things? Should you point them in a?
I can certainly get them started and give them some cues on what to consider during their market research based on those sources, and kind of how to align. So more of what's the approach and where do I start? That's where I could definitely assist with that. Yes.
So some of the first principles and the mindset around how we're actually going to be approaching this, as opposed to just hey, I just need a random mentor from some random, you'll give them some goodies. So let's reach out to Corey, my friends. Hit him up on LinkedIn. Let's see just mention the word giver, or I saw you on that broadcast, or just let him know that he did a good job today. And just let him know anyway. Let him know he did a good job today. Reach out to him and say, great job, Corey. Good job. And we feel like we got a rising star. And I feel, I don't know what. I don't know why. I feel like I'm talking to like an early Michael Jordan right now. I'm not sure why. What's going on? I just, maybe it's that movie that just came out. I'm just thinking about it. But I just feel like we got a rising star in our midst, and I want to encourage people, just reach out to Corey, whatever it takes just at least have him on your Rolodex or connected in social or something, so that you don't forget. And we can just watch his rise to be able to help causes and companies doing good in the world, partner with nonprofits, help those businesses that are kind of collaborating on a kind of another level. And we're excited, man. Thank you, Corey. And we want to talk afterwards. I got some ideas for us to collaborate on a whole deeper level based on this presentation. So,
okay.
God bless you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks again, everybody,
Christine,
for tapping in.
We got Wednesday networking tomorrow, right?
We
With
do.
all the
We have Wednesday networking tomorrow. We have networking meeting at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Central, or 11 a.m. East Coast. So if you do the bit.ly Giver Marketing Networking, and that will get you to register for our group. It's open to all marketers. So if you're a marketer and you're wanting to, rub elbows with other marketers, learn how to white label, work together, and bring more business to yourself and to others, come hang out with us, get to know us, and let's hang out tomorrow. And next Tuesday, we're back for another masterclass. I can't wait.
Come on, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, let's light it up. Ladies and gentlemen, make those comments, type in replay. If you're watching the replay, Corey will follow up with you. We'll make sure and tag him on some of these streams, and that way he's all accessible to you guys, and connect with him, and we'll see you tomorrow and next Tuesday as well. God bless you guys.
Thank you, everybody.